Freight factoring for brokers and how to apply for it.
Prompt payments play a vital role in maintaining a smooth and trust-filled relationship in the freight market. For carriers and brokers alike, not getting paid for services is a major concern. And in some cases, it can be so severe that it threatens the very survival of the business. Thankfully, there's a solution to this challenge. Freight factoring is specifically designed for brokers.
You may feel sometimes like your only remaining option is hiring collectors, but there is a simpler and more civilized way. By using freight factoring, you free yourself from dependence on the cash flow from your customers, and you will never have to let the due date on carrier invoices pass. Freight factoring for brokers.
Factoring for freight brokers guarantees a dependable business environment, offering credit assurance for both carriers and shippers. When you participate in a freight broker factoring program, you not only bolster your reputation as a reliable freight brokerage, but also shift your focus to acquiring new clients rather than chasing outstanding debts. Brokers must make certain that their invoices are paid promptly, as they have their own commitments to carriers and drivers, alongside escalating operating costs. In certain situations, alternative financial solutions, such as factoring for brokers, prove to be a lifesaver.
Freight broker factoring is when a broker legally transfers an invoice to a third party, called factoring company or just factor, along with the right to demand the money from the shipper. The factoring company pays the broker a cash advance up to 95% of the invoice, minus commission, immediately after shipment and without waiting for the shipper to pay for the services. In turn, the shipper will transfer the money to the factoring company within 90 days.
Freight factoring for new brokers is almost an essential if you have recently entered the trucking brokerage business. It helps newcomers to stay on track.
Benefits of invoice factoring for freight brokers. Freight factoring for brokers remains a high-value service for the freight industry. Let's delve into the benefits that this steady trend brings.
Factoring brokers pay you when you need it. Normally the same day after the load is delivered to the consignee. You no longer have to wait 1 to 3 months to receive the payment for the work that you have done.
Cash flow is the most liquid and most important business asset that helps to estimate how much money you have to spend, save, or invest to move forward. With freight brokers factoring, you can more easily plan the funds to cover rent bills and pay invoices from trucking companies.
A freight broker factoring program helps you draw in more shippers and increase the volume of invoices you manage. This consistent cash flow will boost your confidence, enabling you to invest for the long term and gradually grow your brokerage business.
Working with freight factoring allows the broker to focus on hauling more loads and developing their client base rather than collecting overdue debts. Bills associated with moving freight, such as salaries, equipment, and software upgrades, can now be easily paid on time.
Building loyalty is critical to getting regular trucking orders, timely payments, and long-term contracts. Freight factoring for brokers ensures that all parties, including the truck owner, broker, and shipper, will benefit from the deal.
Freight factoring can save you a lot of time and effort, as factoring companies will handle all accounting work, such as invoicing, follow-up calls, checking on payments, and resolving disputes or settling debts. A broker can focus on hauling high-paying loads rather than doing paperwork.
Brokers face the constant risk of shippers not paying their bills on time, or in some cases, not at all. A freight factoring program significantly lowers the risk of such bad debts. Factoring companies usually conduct credit checks on shippers free of charge, providing brokers with reports on the shipper's credit worthiness and their history of timely freight invoice payment.
Non-recourse factoring is an option if the shipper has an excellent credit history. The factor then charges an extra fee for accepting the full liability for the shipper's defaulting on the invoice.
Freight factoring is beneficial regardless of your brokerage company size. It aids in maintaining a steady cash flow and ensures that current assets are always available. The setup allows you to more accurately predict your income and expenses, freeing up time and resources to focus on securing more loads and growing your business.
How does freight broker factoring work? Simply put, freight factoring involves the following 3 parties: freight broker, creditor; shipper, debtor; Factoring company, factor. The factoring scheme includes several stages.
The factoring company evaluates the financial health of both the broker and the shipper, examining their company information and service reputation, payment practices, and contract irregularities. This assessment is vital for risk evaluation.
A factoring agreement is signed between the broker and the factoring company, specifying the deal's terms, including subject matter, payment processes, fund provision, and receivables collection rights.
It also details the responsibilities and obligations of each party, agreement duration, factoring costs, and settlement approach.
Upon cargo delivery confirmation, the broker submits the invoice to the factoring company, which then finances an agreed percentage of the invoice value, usually within 24 to 48 hours.
After the agreed deferred payment period, the factoring company collects the payment from the shipper. In recourse factoring, if the shipper doesn't pay, the broker is responsible for the debt.
The factoring company purchases and pays for the invoices, deducting its fee, and receives the full amount from the shipper when they pay. Freight brokers, factoring rates, and fees. The factoring rates are determined based on the invoice value, the grace period for payments, and the debtor's credit standing, usually ranging between 95% and 99.5% of the invoice value. Factoring fees, calculated as a percentage of a single delivery's value, vary from 1% to 10%.
These fees are either deducted from the broker's payment upon invoice submission or after the factor receives full payment from the shipper, depending on the factoring type and agreed term.
Requirements to apply for freight brokers factoring. Before signing a freight factoring agreement, a proper factoring company will get information confirming the creditworthiness of the broker and the shipper, such as the following: credit history, business reputation, tax or other arrears, criminal or fraud charges brought against the founders, managers, or the chief account, solvency, customers, both active and potential. Next, the broker prepares the documents for a factoring application, checklist, constitutional documents of the company, identities of the founders, contract of carriage, other documents that factoring companies may require in each specific case.
As you can see, it should not be difficult to prepare the documents and submit for a freight factoring application. In case you have any issues, the freight factoring company will provide you with professional advice to assist you with walking through the process.
Conclusion. The broker gets prompt payments for services, allowing them to invest in operational needs and long-term assets.
Carriers benefit from deferred payments, typically between 30 to 90 days, a flexibility that factoring companies can readily provide. The factoring company, in turn, profits from the fees on each transaction.
The crucial factor is partnering with a professional and dependable factoring company. This partnership helps brokers mitigate common financial risks, increase their service offerings, and grow their business quickly, even in challenging times.
Do you want to know how? Just reach out to HMD Financial. It's really that straightforward. We'll guide you in fine-tuning the timing and volume of your deliveries, helping you to avoid financial loss. This way, you can focus on earning and investing in the growth of your business.